So does Hollywood even remember that October is a month, or what's the deal here? Because this has been a surprisingly spooky summer. Because not only did we have The Mummy, but also this weekend we had It Comes at Night. Then we had the new Aliens film a few weeks ago. Scare to Care, the charity fundraiser where people play scary games, is going on this weekend as we speak, which is a great cause. If you guys have not checked out, check out twitch.tv/scaretocare. It is a ton of fun and a great charity to donate to. But then also, like the Friday the 13th game just came out. In the last month, there have been about 4 or 5 new horror comics that have popped up. This is like the scariest summer I've ever seen when it comes to
Summerween.
Summerween. That's a very positive lead-in for a movie that's fucking awful. This movie's terrible. Oh my goodness.
It's been so long since I saw the first Mummy movie. It was basically just like a fun adventure movie, wasn't it?
First off, when you say the first Mummy movie, you mean the Brendan Fraser Mummy.
Yes, I do.
Not the actual first Mummy.
No. That's.
It was a fun summer. It was a fun adventure film. What creature is the mummy that lurks in the darkness at night? That wasn't that fun. Yeah, I think of Boris Karloff when I think of fun adventure films. Although, oh my god, did they try and rip the fudge off of that Brendan Fraser film. But yeah, that's something that's worth noting is that this was originally one of the Universal Studios monster films.
Yeah.
The Brendan Fraser ones, it was Indiana Jones with a supernatural monster in there. This one, I don't know what the fuck they wanted me. Hey everyone, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Michelle.
And this is our post-Geekout reaction for The Mummy. And if you guys have not seen a post-Geekout reaction before, it is not a review. In the review, I sit down, think of everything that I want to say, write out a little script, give it a score at the end of it, and there are no spoilers. There will be a mini review for this film coming up tomorrow. This, the post-Geekout reaction, is just our open, honest thoughts about the thing that we just watched, and that does include full spoilers. So if you do not want to be spoiled, so if you don't want to be spoiled, tune out now. But warning, who gives a fuck? Seriously, I'm sorry that I'm cursing so much in this one. For a while, I tried to stop cursing during these, but God, this summer has been a barrage of crap. Just Wonder Woman was good. I liked It Comes at Night, although I did have a couple problems with it. But it's I did like that. But that's an indie film. Doesn't really count for the big wide releases. Guardians, I guess, kind of counts as a summer film because it was the beginning of May, which now is officially the summer movie season. But aside from that, this whole summer has just been, holy crap, has it been bad. This is probably the worst thing I've seen this year so far. Which, granted, we have yet to get into the awful films of the year. Those typically start coming around between September and November. It's during that dead month before the awards movies come out. So we haven't gotten into that.
What about in February?
February is also always a massive dump month, but I don't really remember anything that bad. This February gave us Logan, and gave us there was another really good film in February. It's weird. It's almost like the studios out there are realizing they can spread out all their big release films. They don't just have to cram them all into one time of the year. They might make more money that way. Mm-hmm. It's almost as if they're learning. Get Out was also in February, which I will admit I still have not freaking seen, and it ticks me off because I've been so excited for it. But it's now on demand, so I can finally watch it. That's beside the point. What I'm trying to say is that, okay, so we're here to talk about The Mummy. So far, the worst film I've seen so far this year has been King Arthur. And I really, really had to debate with myself after I got out of this. Is this worse than King Arthur? And I will leave that cliffhanger until the end of this. Let's go ahead and get into what this movie is about.
Yeah. So once again, you saw this movie.
Yes, let's go ahead and point out.
I had to puppy sit again.
She was still puppy sitting, which Cosmo's being better. Cosmo's actually just sitting right here, and he's doing totally fine. Hold on a second. There he is. He's doing okay. Yeah, I've screwed up our camera to show off the dog.
It's worth it, though.
It is. Everybody loves Cosmo.
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, so again, I'm the only one who saw this, so I'm going to give you a full rundown of this. This film starts off with Russell Crowe giving you the history of this mummy, Amenhotep, what the hell is it called? Amenet, that's what it is. The mummy's name is Amenet. Basically, she was the daughter of the pharaoh. She was going to become the pharaoh herself, Then the pharaoh had a son, and so she went nuts and made a deal with the dark god Set, which is basically the Egyptian lord of death, and she then gets covered in all these weird tattoos and brings all these crows back to life, and then she just goes around killing her father, killing the baby, killing her mother, killing all these people, and then she tries to take this dagger with a gem on the end of it, stab this guy so that he will then become the human embodiment of Set. But then the guards come in, trank her, like mummify her while she's alive and bury her. And then it cuts to the present day, and Tom Cruise, his character's name is Nick, and that's very important because his partner is Jake Johnson, who if you remember that guy, he is on New Girl. He's been on New Girl for numerous years now. I love that guy on New Girl. On New Girl, his character's name is Nick. So every time that they were in a scene together and they go, Nick, I would turn to Jake Johnson, and I was like, dude, when you cast him to be Tom Cruise's best buddy in this film, did nobody stop and think, you know what, this other guy's been called Nick for 5 to 6 years now to a very wide audience out there. Maybe just copy, replace all Nick to Rick, just something like that. It's like, so that's a small complaint. That's the tiniest drop in this crap bucket. So I just had to point that out because it was just so weird to me. But Tom Cruise and Jake Johnson, they are these two guys who work for the United States government, and their job is to go in and try and like salvage antiquities from like war-torn countries, which I don't know if that's like an actual thing that the government does. I know they did in World War II, but I don't know if it's still a thing. However, they don't just salvage them, they go in and they steal these antiquities and then sell them on the black market, which is highly illegal. Mm-hmm. And there's a moment in which their commanding officer comes down and says, I know exactly what you've been doing. You've been doing this, you've been stealing these things, selling them on the black market. I was like, oh, movie over, they're court-martialed and they go to jail forever. And he was just like, you've been doing this. I ain't got time to court-martial you. It's almost like he knew he was about to leave this film. Spoiler alert, he dies. He's the only, many people die in this film. He's the one who got it the worst, and I'll explain why towards the end of this. God, it's just so, like... I'll just go ahead and say how he died. He's going up to a guy who's being brain-controlled by the mummy, and just like going, why are you doing this? What's wrong with you, boy? And then just goes, stab. Like the slowest stabbing. It was like you just saw it coming a mile away.
Like you didn't even bother. You were just like watching. Just like,
just like, anybody gonna? Oh, there it goes. And I'm out. Oh, but yeah. So it was just like he comes in, tells them all this illegal stuff they're doing, and I was like, why do I like these people at all? Like they're doing something horrible at the beginning of this, and nobody gives a crap. Like nobody's trying to arrest them. That's the thing that bugged me so much. But what also bugs me is that they're looking at this area where all these, I don't exactly know what they were, but there were these people basically guarding this area that they had to go into with all of this firepower, and they're like, yeah, we will die if we go down there. We will absolutely get shot. That's what Jake Johnson is telling him. And then Tom Cruise just like, come on, where's your sense of adventure? And he slashes Jake Johnson's water supply, and he's like, I will die out here if I don't do this. Like, yeah, unless you go and get water from down there. And basically forces him to go down there. And they go down there, and then they're just getting shot at, and everything is blowing up. And then like they stop, and Tom Cruise goes, okay, let me think. I think we're gonna die here. And it was like, okay, so you're an asshole. You're doing illegal stuff, but you can give me an asshole protagonist. I'm fine with an asshole protagonist. So they gotta be witty.
Yeah.
He's not witty. He's not clever. Okay, well, if he's not that, he has to be good at what he does. You can give me an asshole, but if they're good at what they do, awesome, cool. I can respect them because they are so good at what they do. This guy, he comes up with no plan to go down there, and then when they're in the middle of all this, he's like, okay, we're gonna die. I was totally messed up on this. I was like, oh, so you're not even good at what you do.
It's like they end up dying in roll credits. Like there's like so many potential endings throughout this movie, it seems like.
I cannot wait for the cinema sins on this thing. roll credits. But yeah, it was like, okay, so you just mentioned none of like the check marks. It's like, not a good person, not clever, bad dialogue, and you're bad at what you do. There is no reason for me to like or admire or get closely attached to you in any way, shape, or form. But Jake Johnson calls in an airstrike, which is what he was saying they should have done in the beginning. Airstrike comes in, blows up an area in the middle of this city street, scares off all the people who were shooting at them, and then they find like all these Egyptian statues underneath there. And then this archaeologist comes in, who is played by Annabelle Wallace, and she, just like Tom Cruise's character, is horrible. She is so unlikable. And these are two people who were supposed to have like hooked up like the night before this happened, and then he ran off with her map to find all these sacred treasures and stuff. And the dialogue between the two of them feels like they found it in a time machine from the 90s. Like, first off, okay, you got two rough and tumble guys who are going out there on adventures. Gee, I wonder if the female character is going to be in any way the same, or if her entire role is to just wag a big finger at them and tell them no. I wonder which one it's going to be. Yeah, her role is to come in and go, now boys. Oh, God. Are you just... That is something that bugs me so much, when the woman is written to be nothing but a buzzkill.
Yeah.
When she is nothing but the one to come in there and go, and I don't mean like the voice of reason. I mean the buzzkill. Like the one who's there to go, stop doing this thing that can make a good movie. But also, like I said, they slept together like the night before, and like she basically just like rags into him and goes like, oh, he was barely able to imitate human interaction for 15 seconds, and then he comes back and is like, well, clearly she doesn't know what she's saying because she's so exhausted from the hours of passionate love. And it's like, this goes back and forth.
Yeesh.
And not just in this scene, it's like a running thing. Like, crazy stuff will happen, and then later on he'll bring up, like, 15 seconds. It was way more than 15. It's like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. This is not anything. No one paid for a ticket to see you two squabble about how long Tom Cruise lasted in the sack. No one wants that. No one is even asking for this romance. Like, that's something that, as I was watching this, I realized, wow, action and blockbuster films have come such a long way, because it used to be mandatory that there would be a male and female character and they would have to hook up. That doesn't really have to happen anymore now. And when it does happen, it actually kind of feels earned. This feels like they came in and went, no, the audiences need that. That's what all audiences want in these films. Like, every other studio out there has begun to wake up and realize, no, nobody really gives a crap about whether or not this actually happens. And if you are going to make it happen, you focus on it enough for it to have a point to it. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm thinking about Wonder Woman. It's like, yeah, the relationship between Steve Trevor and Diana was actually really damn good. There is nothing in this. There's no reason for them to, like, they have zero chemistry. Zero chemistry. And they are cramming it in our face. That's like, nah, man, you want them to get together. It's like, we signed up for the Mummy. We signed up for the Mummy, nothing else. We do not care about this relationship. And it's garbage. They do not make you care about. But so yeah, automatically, you don't like anybody in this film, which the hardest part of me to believe that is the fact that the main character is Tom Cruise. And say whatever you want about Tom Cruise's personal life, the dude is charismatic as hell. The dude, our dog is snoring right now, it's adorable. The dude made it this far in Hollywood because he is a charismatic guy. Remember a couple weeks ago when I was reviewing Baywatch, and I said the only reason why I can't really hate this film is because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is so damn charming in this film? Mm-hmm. Man, Tom Cruise, I don't know what happened to him in this film. Tom Cruise has no personality in this film. It's almost like Tom Cruise in every other film just went to the director and went, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I'm Tom Cruise. And this one he came in and went, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to be Tom Cruise in this film. You tell me what to do. And the director didn't know either. I've been talking for like 15 minutes. I'm not even up to the point where the mummy shows up in this thing. But basically they go down into the cave. They find all this stuff, and they see these, there's this sarcophagus that is sunken underneath all this water, or it might be liquid mercury. That's one of the cool things I thought they did in here, actually, is that there's liquid mercury everywhere because the ancient Egyptians believed it like ward off evil spirits, so they're like using that to like drown the mummy and stuff.
And
like,
they have to wear gas masks. I mean, mercury is
it's poisonous. Yeah, they do actually bring that up. They do actually mention that. Yeah, they're investigating the area, and there's like all these ropes like holding the sarcophagus down. And then, like, the general guy is going, we're getting out here now. It doesn't matter what you find down there. We have to go. And, like, the archaeologist is like, no, I'm not leaving without this thing. And then Tom Cruise just goes, yeah, fuck it. And he shoots one of the wires, which undoes the sarcophagus and raises it up. And I was like, man, okay, not charming, not charismatic, not likable, no good dialogue, not good at what you do. And you cause all of this to happen. Like, you are the ultimate, like, turducken of crap character in here. Like, there's no reason for me to like this guy. But so, anyway, like, the sarcophagus comes up, and then Tom Cruise starts getting all these flashes and visions of the mummy back in ancient Egypt. And the mummy comes up and says, you are my chosen one. And then they're on the plane with the sarcophagus. But during all this, Jake Johnson gets bit by a camel spider, which they say, guys, they're not even poisonous, don't worry about it. But he starts like getting all gray, his eyes start rolling back into his head.
How big was the spider?
Camel spiders are big, don't you?
Yeah, they are, but it's like, I meant in the movie, like compared to the real ones.
They're actually like this, like, from, like, bottom leg to top leg, they're like that big. Like, so it's like, yeah, they're about the size of a camel spider. Camel spiders might be a little bit bigger, but camel spiders aren't poisonous. It's the tiny spiders.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Which is the most fucked up thing about nature. I hate spiders. I do. Damn, nature, you scary. But yeah, like he starts turning gray, like his eyes start rolling back in his head, and then he's the guy, he starts taking his knife and trying to cut open the sarcophagus, and that's when the general comes up and goes, boy, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And then just drops over. And then, like, he starts lumbering towards, like, Tom Cruise and the other army guys there on the plane. And Tom Cruise takes the gun away from one of the army guys who were pointing at him. He's like, that's my friend, you're not going to do that. And Tom Cruise shoots him himself, shoots him again. Then when he's laying there dead, the gun accidentally goes off a third time and shoots him. Which is another thing I have to bring up about this film. They put jokes in here all over the place, and they're bad jokes. None of the jokes are good in this film. And I'm not going to come in here and criticize this film because it should be a horror film and they put jokes in there. Some of the best horror films out there have a lot of jokes in there. Like, a lot of the times when you raise tension effectively, putting a joke in there diffuses that tension so that, you, like I was talking about with It Comes at Night, that thing just kept raising tension and raising tension and raising tension, and because it very rarely ever actually gave me a release to that, eventually the tension would kind of even off and then just kind of dip down. It's like, all right, I can't really be that scared any longer at this thing. Either you give us an actual scare or you can give us a joke that a joke will also diffuse the tension so you can start raising it again. They don't use it like that. They just put the jokes in here wherever. There were like 4 to 6 different writers on this thing.
Oh boy.
And you feel like one of them was just the punch-up artist. The guy who went in there after the script was done and was like, well, we gotta put some jokes in here, so I'm just gonna put them in wherever. Because they don't match or fit anywhere that they arrive in here. But then the plane gets attacked by all these crows, which is kind of a cool sequence.
Yeah, wasn't it the, basically the trailer, the teaser?
That was in the trailer, yeah, so you guys have seen it. And then the plane starts going down. Tom Cruise takes a parachute, hands it to the archaeologist, the door of the plane blows open, and like he pulls the ripcord for her so that she goes flying out and saves her. And then you see like Tom Cruise, like half the screen is him against the plane while the other half is the side of the plane that's been ripped open, so you can see it getting close to the ground. That's actually a cool sequence. I will give it that. That sequence is actually pretty darn cool. But they think he's dead. He wakes up, he's alive again, completely untouched inside of the morgue. They're shocked that he doesn't have a scrape on him. He goes out drinking that night. And then, as he's drinking, the archaeologist is telling him, listen, I've been studying up on all the gods and such. I think we angered the gods by going in there and doing this. I think that we messed with evil spirit. And I bring that up because 5 seconds later, Tom Cruise goes off, he does something, then he comes back and goes, I think there's an evil spirit. I think I'm cursed. And she goes, that doesn't make any sense. Nick, no, this makes sense. That's not real. It can't be happening. It's like, weren't you 5 seconds ago telling him that you angered gods because of this? Like, and now you're poo-pooing him saying he might be cursed by said evil gods? Like, come on, man. This movie does not know what it is doing at any turn.
And it's like Tom Cruise's character like doesn't know if he's cursed or not because he's already an asshole and doing bad shit.
Yeah, it's like, hey man, maybe you're just incompetent. I mean, you've proven that so far in this film. But when he's at the bar as she's telling him this, that's another thing about this film. This film stops so often to just explain stuff. Like, just stop and talk. Like, the movie opens up with Russell Crowe giving you the entire backstory of the mummy, rather than letting us discover it organically. Then she just stops to explain to you again what this whole, like, evil spirit thing is. But while she's doing that, he sees the ghost of Jake Johnson over there by the bar, which, by the way, Jake Johnson on New Girl plays a bartender. It's like, dude, I'm sorry, it's hard for me to not see this. But he's over there at the bar, and he's like a zombie, like he's decaying and stuff. He's like, Nick, come over here. Nick. And he's like, God darn his eyes back and forth between her, like he is not listening to a word she says. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing the same. She's boring. I don't care about this. Go to your zombie friend, whatever.
Yeah, it's like, that kind of reminds me of like the scene in The Shining with the bartender.
Oh, I would rather have Nick from New Girl as my ghost bartender. But no, that's not what that should remind you of. It should remind you of American Werewolf in London, because they ripped that clean off. For anybody who's seen that, you know that the guy's buddy dies early on in that film because he's attacked by the werewolf, and then you see his ghost popping up all throughout it, but his ghost keeps decaying more and more every time that you see him, and like, you gotta die, man. I can't live as long as you're alive, because when you die, the curse dies, and so he just keeps popping up around him. Same thing in this one. Jake Johnson keeps popping up all throughout this as this decaying ghost zombie, and just in every scene just keeps telling him over and over again, it's like, you gotta do what the mummy says, like, you have to become this god of death, because then the curse will be lifted from me, and I can rest in peace. Like, it is the exact same thing. Like, I am stunned that nobody there went, isn't this a little too similar to that film? Like, I don't even know if anybody working on this film has even seen American Werewolf in London. And this isn't like an obscure film I'm pulling out my ass here. It's American Werewolf in London. It's like one of the most well-known werewolf films of all time. So, basically from there, Tom Cruise says he wants to see the mummy's body. He says he's going to feel a lot better when he knows that the mummy is actually dead. So they go to where the plane crash site was. He then goes and gets attacked by the mummy and all these like zombies she's been creating. There is like no actual scary scenes in this film, but the closest they get is there is a scene in which the mummy, like in its like decaying form, grabs some like cops and like sucks out their spirit and turns them into like these like decaying, like mummified looking zombie creatures. That's actually kind of a creepy moment, and a lot of it is because of like the way that the mummy is moving, because like every time that she absorbs like the flesh of others, like her skin rejuvenates a little bit more. But at this point, she's still like just wandering, crippling, like can barely move and like all hunched over. Like, oh, you know what? That's actually not bad. That actually looks kind of cool. Like, that's not bad. So that was kind of a creepy scene. I'll give him that. That's it for this film. But he gets attacked by them, and then she pulls out the dagger that like allows her to like put Seth into someone, but it's missing the gem at the top. Like apparently it was separated and buried in two different places, so she can't perform the ritual just yet. So then they have to escape, and they begin to realize the mummy's inside her head, and it's forcing him to do stuff. That's why it made him want to come there, see the crash site. And there's actually kind of a nice moment, which is like, the mummy, no, I'm in control of myself, as he's driving away. And then like they come to a screeching halt, and they look up, and they drove in a big circle right back to where the mummy was. And I was like, oh my god, she's inside my head. I was like, oh, you know, that's not bad. And then after that, they get attacked in the car as it's running away by these mummies, and the car like goes flipping over and like flips over Tom Cruise. I'm like, that's actually kind of a cool action scene. I'll give you that. That doesn't look too bad. All right, whatever. After that, all these secret agents show up, take out the mummy, trap her, and then like take her to a secret base. Turns out the archaeologist works for, it's some organization called like Pythagorean or something like that. It's something in Latin.
The Pythagorean theorem?
Maybe. It's something in Latin that basically it comes from a phrase that means be wary of monsters. It's like, that's you stretching, dude.
It comes from an agent saying A squared plus B squared equals C squared.
No, it comes from an ancient Latin or ancient Latin saying, which means Strategic Homeland Information and Espionage Logistics Division. Because, oh my god, it's S.H.I.E.L.D. It's 100% S.H.I.E.L.D. Russell Crowe pops up. Out of nowhere, Russell Crowe just pops up after being like, they pick his ass up and take more. Remember in X-Men Apocalypse, when they just stopped the entire goddamn film to just lift up the team and take them to the Weapon X base for no reason at all, just so they can go, hey guys, Wolverine's in this film, check out, we're tying everything together. It's like, no, you're not, you're being lazy. They do that in here. They just pick them up, take them to the secret organization, and Russell Crowe is there, and then again, more explaining. Russell Crowe just sits down and just spends a good chunk of time explaining to him what this organization is, and just uses the phrase monsters and evil over and over and over and over again, just repeating himself nonstop. The world is full of evil monsters, and we must fight these evil monsters by using the own, like, sacred evil things and crap, and it's so boring. It is so boring. Like, I had someone on Twitter ask me, is this so bad it's good? I love so bad it's good films. But so bad it's good films can't be boring. They have to keep moving.
Right.
Boring is boring. You can't make boring fun.
No.
And I mean, this film is boring with how much it just stops and explains. And I'm not saying you can't explain stuff. I'm just saying you have to keep your movie moving. You have to have the explanations fit inside the story of the film. You can't just stop and go, hey everybody, so turn to the camera. We're going to tell you everything that you need to know in this film right now.
This seems like the opposite of It Comes at Night, because there's like no...
Oh, it's 1,000% the opposite.
Like the complete 180.
They're trying so hard to set up the cinematic universe that they stop this thing to like explain like this entire thing, and they've got the mummy coming in here with giant crap happening nonstop instantly from the beginning of the film. For anybody who saw my It Comes at Night review last night, I was like, it's so much build up, but very little payoff, like so much build up, and then not a lot really happens in there. I actually thought of the perfect way to describe these two films, but it's really dirty. But I'm sorry, it's the perfect way to describe it. So for anybody who gets upset with dirty jokes, skip ahead by 20 seconds. I'll give you time to skip ahead. But I gotta go ahead and say this. Forgive my language ahead of time. It Comes at Night is like an hour and a half of someone giving you foreplay, and then when you're finally about to climax, they throw your pants at you and go, all right, that's it, get out. And it's like, okay, thanks for the nice time, but what am I supposed to do with this now? The Mummy is someone with sandpapery dry hands jumping on you and just giving you the quickest tug you've ever had in your life, because they're like, come on, we gotta get you off right now. It's like, no, stop, that hurts, ow, ow, come on. Don't you want to romance me any on this one? Jesus. That's exactly what it is. And it's like, dude, the hour and a half of foreplay is way better than that. That's what this is. It feels like someone desperately trying to get you off, and they have no skills at all. They are just aggressively like, if I just do this faster, it works, right? It's like, no, it just hurts. Stop it. Yeah, again, sorry, but that is the best way I can describe those two films. But yeah, so it just stops, and they just come in here and just go, all right, so here's everything, here's this, here's that. They show you the mummy, they've got her all locked up, and they're like feeding liquid mercury into her body, and like it's going into like weird tunes, and like once it reaches a certain, once it's filled her up enough, then we will drop the temperature down in here to negative 30 degrees, and that will cause the liquid mercury to freeze, and then we will dissect her. And I was like, so movie's over, right? Done, going home.
Deus Ex Machina.
God. Okay. As I said, they want this to be a shared cinematic universe with all the other monster movies. And that's the thing that pisses me off the most about this. I would love that. I love monster films. I like this whole trend going on right now of the idea of shared cinematic universes. But Marvel's doing it incredibly well. Marvel knew what they were doing. DC still is trying to figure that out. I mean, Wonder Woman was good, but Wonder Woman didn't tie into the rest of their cinematic universe at all. We're going to have to see what happens with Justice League and with all the movies moving forward to see what happens. But it's been a rough start for them. I do kind of like the Warner Brothers giant monster movies, though. I think that's actually doing pretty darn well. I think they've set up this idea that, there are giant monsters in the world, They've done that pretty well. They did the whole go back in time to a war thing. That seems to be what everyone has to do now. They did that with Kong very well. So it's like, okay, I think they're doing it pretty darn well too. This is the worst. This is hands down the worst I have seen. Because everybody, no matter how you feel about these cinematic universe things, everybody tends to agree the worst part of them is when they will stop the movie to just explain to you the rest of the cinematic universe. Like Iron Man 2, they stop in the middle of that film to go, this is Black Widow, she's a secret agent, you're gonna see her later, and I'm Nick Fury coming in here and give you all the answers, and we're gonna have Agent Coulson show you all this stuff in the past. It's like, that's lazy. It's lazy, 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 nobody likes it. Batman vs. Superman, even the people who really love that film, they still come in here like, yeah, but why did they just stop the movie in the middle of it to show me trailers for all the other characters in there? Like, you weren't even gonna like tease that any? You're just going to have them find it on a floppy disk and there are all the like video clips of them? Like, this is so lame in here. You have even their logos coming up there on the screen. That sucks. It's like, yeah, people hate when you do that. This one does it, and it's longer than any of those other examples you can think of. It takes up almost half this goddamn film explaining to you how this cinematic universe is going to work, and it's the first movie. You know what those other two examples I gave you weren't? The first movie in their cinematic universe, is because those people realized, hey man, you kind of have to come in here and establish your cinematic universe first. This one is so desperate to get this cinematic universe off the fucking ground, it just comes in and just instantly goes, all right, here's everything you need to know about. It's like, no, what I need to know is whether or not Tom Cruise will be able to defeat the Mummy. That's what this movie is. I don't give a shit about this. And it's so bad at this that Russell Crowe, he's playing Dr. Jekyll. First off, you have an organization that hunts monsters, and it's not a Hellsing running that? Do you even know your cinematic universe? Do you even know your characters? You fucking idiots. But Dr. Jekyll's like, all right, I can see Dr. Jekyll being the R&D guy at this organization. That'd be cool. But he's running it? That seems weird. But as he's talking to Tom Cruise, he goes, like out of nowhere, he goes, I'm gonna tell you a story about a man who was so obsessed with finding the darker parts of man's inner nature. Luckily, he was a bit of a physician himself. And he goes on and on and on. And then as he starts talking, he's preparing this shot with like 4 little canisters he's putting in it, with like 4 different needles in it. And then as he's talking, like you see veins start to form in his eyes, and like his eyes start to turn yellow. And he goes, became obsessed with inner carnage. Stabs himself. But anyway, he was able to figure out a way to survive. And I was like, I'm sorry. People who need insulin don't typically wait until they're like, you know, going into like the shakes to then give themselves the shot. Like, they know. Like,
oops, I missed.
Is this some kind of like a high you get from seeing how close you can get to the breaking point before you stab yourself? And like, okay, so you just stopped right in the middle of this film to introduce Dr. Hyde. It's like, I mean, Mr. Hyde. It's like, fine, whatever. 5 minutes later, the Mummy is like brainwashing one of the guys who works there to free her. And then like when they go and warn Dr. Jekyll about this, all of a sudden he just starts going, and then he like has them all leave, but Tom Cruise gets trapped inside there as all the doors lock. And then you see like him trying to find like the shot, but Tom Cruise is like hiding it because he's like goes, no, I'm not giving this back to you until I get some answers. And then like you just see him go, and like his eyes turn yellow and he gets like boily skin. First off, Russell Crowe, I'll admit, he's actually really damn good as Mr. Hyde. Like he gets that Cockney British accent going on for him. And he's actually playing with it. It's like, oh, they will make you the god of death, the embodiment of all evil. Well, aren't you gonna need a friend like your buddy Mr. Hyde here? I have a proposal for you. It's like, actually kind of the way that he's like teasing him while he's like breaking his arm and telling him all this, like, that's actually not bad. Like, he's actually a pretty good good Mr. Hyde. But typically Mr. Hyde always physically changes in one way, shape, or another, doesn't he? It's literally just him with yellow eyes. And I was like, it kind of sucks. It's kind of lame. It's like, you're not gonna get like, you know,
green skin or
not that, but it's like get the hair to like change color, like have the hair get like scraggy and white or something, or like, you know, have his fingernails grow a little bit,
or
like
it was like
maybe teeth. Yeah, his teeth get gnarly or something. It's like, He just gets yellow eyes. That's it. It's like, that's kind of a lame Mr. Hyde. But I'm bringing this up because, like, this is another perfect example of how desperate they are to get you into the cinematic universe right now. In the Mummy movie, they stop in the middle of this film so Tom Cruise can fight a different Universal Studios monster.
Which one?
Mr. Hyde.
Oh, I felt like...
Oh, you thought the black creature from the Black Lagoon would be like an antagonist?
Or the Wolfman, or so one of them is like random cameo appearance, just like the Flash did.
A full moon rises and then the Wolfman just pops down and goes, "Is it too late? Am I on time? What's going on?" Frankenstein just bursts through the door. "Come with me if you want to live." Oh my god. But yeah, it's like, dude, this is your first fucking movie. The first one in your cinematic universe, and you stop in the middle of it to have him fight a different monster because you want people to know there are other monsters in this world. Like, oh my god. And the facility is lame, too. The facility is just like a warehouse out there, and like, listen, they're ripping off S.H.I.E.L.D. They were ripping off S.H.I.E.L.D. 100%, but all I could think was, BPRD, the organization that Hellboy works for. Remember that? You're ripping stuff off, and you're not even ripping off the thing that's more accurate to what you're trying to be? This is stupid, you idiots! Oh my god. So the mummy breaks free. She then causes a giant sandstorm to attack all of London, which again, it's your first fucking movie. It's your first movie, like, Man of Steel, like, listen, we all talk about the destruction and that, but let's go towards, like, a positive example. Like, Iron Man, it was the first film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In that, he just fights another giant robot on the top of a building, and then in the morning, like, people are going, like, there's rumors that there's an Iron Man. Someone saw that on the highway. Like, it was still kind of a secret. It was not blown up to the whole world just yet. And if you're going with Universal Studios monsters, yeah, take it slow. Let this stuff build up. In your first freaking movie, all of London is destroyed by a sandstorm. Not just a sandstorm with a face on it. By the way, you want to talk about ripping off the other film? Dude, Brendan Fraser did it. We've seen this. You gotta do something different with this. But nope, giant sandstorm with a face on it. It's like,
oh, it's different this time because it's a girl.
Yeah. It's like, it's a lady face on there now. Are you being sexist by saying we can't have lady mummies out there? By the way, don't focus on her. Look at Tom Cruise. But yeah, it's like this film, like, in your first film, the entire world now knows something's afoot. There's some kind of monsters out there. Like, this film starts off with, like, this film has Dr. Jekyll, and they're talking about how this has been a secret thing all these years. Apparently not anymore. Your first film, the whole world fucking knows now. It's like, and out of all your monsters, like, this is your first one. You've got the mummy attacking with hordes of crows, locusts, giant sandstorms with their faces on there, summoning gods of death. How the fuck are you going to go to Phantom of the Opera after this? Like, they said...
Prequel!
They said Phantom of the Opera and Hunchback of Notre Dame are also movies they have planned for this universe. It's like, I'm sorry, no. I don't give a crap about dude hanging out in the opera house now after seeing this.
We don't care about, like, ugly people when there are actual demons and monsters around.
I know, Phantom of the Opera is just a stalker guy who lives in an opera house.
And it's ugly, and so was the Hunchback of Notre Dame. So it's like ugly people getting together. It's like, we need to fight the real monsters.
Dude, they're turning, first off, they make the mummy smoking hot. The mummy's a corpse, and they make her smoking hot. Javier Bardem is playing Frankenstein. What do you want to bet? The odds are money is that the Phantom of the Opera, rather than being like, "Argh," what do you bet it's going to be a really handsome dude with like one scar going over his eye, like, I'm hideous, don't look at me. Like, I like no part of anything you have planned, but like, okay, Iron Man, starting about the middle of your power levels there. You're not going to the Guardians of the Galaxy with crazy stuff happening out there. You're not going to Thor, but you're also not going too small like Captain America there. You're starting right in the middle. Here, what the fuck is going to top this in your next films? like, Wolfman ain't going to, like, summon out 1,000 werewolves to destroy all of London.
Maybe.
Frankenstein isn't going to get Thor-level lightning powers and just take out all the villagers.
They might. You never know what they might do.
The Invisible Man is not going to crash his invisible jet down into the sea. It's like, which the Invisible Man, another one they're doing is like, dude, you blew your wad early in this franchise. You just threw the kitchen sink in this film. You got nothing left coming up in this. But it leads up to Tom Cruise. The archaeologist ends up dying, which I was actually kind of shocked at that. So the archaeologist is dead, the army general guy is dead, Jake Johnson is dead, it's just Tom Cruise left at this point. And the mummy's kicking the crap out of him. And then she finds the drill, puts it in there, and goes, okay, don't you want this gift? I'm going to put the Lord of Death in you. You will have power over life and death. And I went, don't you do it. I know what's coming here. You tell him right after his love interest dies that you're going to give him the powers of life and death. Don't do what I think you're going to do. He's tempted. He is thinking about, well, he stole the dagger away from her. And then he's about to hand her. Then, hey, buddy.
Hey, did you have a nice nap?
You want to continue that nap? But then he takes the dagger himself and stabs himself with it. And then, like, he's finally like, no, what am I? And then he sucks the life force out of the mummy, which made me kind of go, so is the mummy just dead? Like, did he just kill his... Like, aren't you, like, having this all lead towards something? Did you just kill the fucking mummy in the first one? Okay. Whatever. And then he brings her back to life, but he's then hiding in the shadows like, no, don't look at me. Whatever.
Oh, is he the mummy now?
No. He then vanishes, and then you've got Russell Crowe with the archaeologist, and they're talking about how they have more work to do, and how they're like, he's become something new. He's become a monster himself, but... maybe there's still something inside him. Maybe to fight monsters, it takes monsters. I just went, fuck you! Because one question I've been having this entire time is, what is your end game? What is your end game with this? Because Marvel Cinematic Universe, the end game is the Avengers. After Phase 1, the end game is now Thanos. We have multiple end games for that. Justice League, the end game is Justice League. The DC Cinematic Universe, the end game is Justice League, and the end game after that is Darkseid. We know your end games. The Warner Brothers giant monster movies with like Godzilla and King Kong. The end game there, War of the Monsters. They all come together in a fight. Or it's King Ghidorah coming down. We know what's going to be. We know the end game of this. What the fuck is the end game for the Universal Studios Monsters films? I have asked so many people this and nobody has an answer for me. Like, they haven't come out and said what their end game is. They haven't come out and like said, well, here's where it's all leading towards. I was like, okay, well, you know, you can wait on that. You can take some time to build it up. But then I watched this and it's like, you're not taking any fucking time to build this up. You're just going into it and you're not telling me what you're going towards. What? But I've like asked other people, like people are like, I don't know what this is going towards. You're right. What is the end game of this?
I bet you it's aliens, like monsters versus aliens.
Because like I was trying to go, it's like, okay, either they're all going to come together and fight each other, or all the monsters are going to work together to fight something else. And if they are going to fight something else, what the heck do they fight? Like aliens, maybe. I can see that. Satan is an idea I had, because then it's like, okay, king of all the monsters, I guess. But then you have Set in here, and Set's kind of like Egyptian Satan, so I was like, all right, well, that's kind of already used up. Or are they just going to get together and have a big dance party, a monster mash? Wolfman, Frankenstein, Mummy were there, while Medusa fed some snakes to God damn it, I messed up the lyrics. If you guys have never heard the Crashervania song, it's fucking hilarious. I love that song so much. I love that song so goddamn much. Sorry. But yeah, it's like, what is your end game here? And when he said, perhaps it takes monsters to fight monsters, I was like, do not tell me you're going to Suicide Squad this. Like, if the monsters just just naturally came together and fought something else, okay, fine, I can see that. But if Russell Crowe is going to start collecting fucking monsters in order to get them to fight other monsters, it becomes Suicide Squad. Like, and I know somebody out there might be saying, well, you just mentioned BPRD and Hellboy. Why can't it be that? Because all the monsters are going to be evil in this world, and he just started doing this. It's not like he started this back in the 40s, and he's been able to train these monsters to fight on the side of good, and he's had time to find good monsters. all these monsters are going to be evil. The only way he can actually get them to fight for them is if he does do some Suicide Squad shit where he puts some bombs in their necks and stuff. I was like, dude, I can already see the future things you're going to start ripping off to make this franchise. But that's not even the end of it. It then ends, as he's talking, as he's sitting down and explaining to the audience again, he's become something more, something beyond just human. He's become a monster himself, but maybe he's still human after all. You see like a hooded figure in the desert with like wrapped up bandaged hands, and he's like digging down in the sand and looking in the sand. He goes, he will go to the ends of the earth to find a cure for this curse. And then you see Jake Johnson on the horse behind him. He goes, hey Nick, I'm glad that you brought me back to life and everything, but should we really be doing this? And then he goes, come on, where's your sense of adventure? And then he, like from the beginning of the movie, and he hops on the horse, and the horse goes, nah! And in slow motion he starts riding off in the distance. While Jake Johnson watches him and goes, oh Nick, no, come on Nick, no, don't do this Nick. And he's moving in regular speed while it then cuts back and forth to Nick in slow motion. No, don't do this Nick, no. And he's, in that moment Jake Johnson was the voice of the audience. No, do not want. It's so bad how this ends. And it just made me look at that and was like, I don't like his fucking character in this at all. I don't. And I don't want to see him return. And also, in your first fucking movie for when you set up the cinematic universe, you now have the walking god of death roaming the earth as a good guy. Again, why do I give a shit about the Hunchback of Notre Dame at this point? Also, why do you need the other monsters in this thing? It's like, it made me go, it's like, okay, so maybe all the monsters are gonna team up to fight Tom Cruise? Because I don't want that. That sounds stupid. I'm sorry, man, Tom Cruise is such a likable actor, but he's getting to that point where it's like, dude, you're almost 60. Fucking stop trying to be the hunky 30-year-old guy who all the women want in the world. Because, yeah, all the women are just obsessed with him in this film. But also stop being the hunky guy who just gets thrown around. There's all these crazy action songs. Start working on doing, like, more serious shit. Or become, like, the supporting action guy. Like, you should be the Helsing. If you want to be in this franchise, be the Helsing that runs this organization. Be the guy who's like, yeah, I've been around a little while, but, you know, I'm kind of getting up there in age. I can't go out there anymore. Oh, by the way, this is my lab guy, Dr. Jekyll. Like, that's, you know, Dr. Jekyll should not be running this thing. Have the Helsing run it. I can see Tom Cruise being that character. I need to pet the dog, calm down. But yeah, it's like, okay, so as I said, is this worse than
King Arthur?
King Arthur? As far as actually the quality of the filmmaking goes, this is better. Because King Arthur was so much random shit being thrown at you constantly, it made no sense. Here, the editing is crap. Like, you will constantly jump around from one thing to the next, and it's like, how the hell did I get here? What's going on now? And the story is terrible, but the actual, like, cinematography, like, actually, like, how scenes are framed, like, how the story progresses is alright. It's passable. It's fine. But King Arthur, you could tell by the end of that film, they wanted to set up sequels. They wanted a King Arthur franchise with the Knights of the Round Table doing stuff. But that felt organic. It felt like, okay, well, you at least set up the other members of his crew in here. You set up them coming together. It's like, all right, I can understand. And they didn't hammer in your fucking face that this was going to be a franchise. They didn't try that hard. This one, they crammed this shit in here so hard. And they do all the things that we hate about the cinematic universes, and they do it probably worse than any of the other cinematic universe films I've seen. Like, all the complaints that I have had about not the filmmaking quality, like not like actually like the writing or like the cinematography or the directing of like say the DC films or the Marvel films or like any of the other cinematic universe things. Not that, because every single one of those you can judge them individually. But when it gets to the stuff that like you can look at it and you know it's the studio coming down here and going, this is how we need to set up the cinematic universe. Whenever I've had a complaint about that in one of those other examples, you can see it in this one and it's done worse. But the thing that makes this, like, makes me really angry at this, that thing that actually makes me go from, this isn't just a bad film, this is a piece of crap. It's the arrogance of this. This is a company that already tried setting up their cinematic universe with the Dracula Untold film, and that thing tanked. Nobody wanted to see it. So rather than trying again with the Mummy and then going, all right, let's see how this does, and if this one does okay, then we'll come in and start building this universe. We'll put some hints in here for a universe so that if it works, we can then come in there and expand upon them in later films. After falling flat on their fucking face with Dracula Untold, and then stepping up and going, that didn't count, that was a mulligan, that was a practice run, alright, now I'm ready. They then fall on their face right again, but this time, they spent half an hour walking around going, oh, you guys didn't see nothing with that. That was just a practice. I was fooling you. This time, you ain't gonna believe what you're gonna see. Oh, it's gonna be some amazing shit. Oh, I am going to blow all your minds. Falls on face. It's the arrogance of it. It's that all throughout this film, you can feel them turning towards the audience with a shitting grin on their face going, don't worry, we got this. And it's like, you so do not. You are screwing this up. This is like watching a drunk guy driving a car and tell you he is an excellent driver while he's running over a mailbox. Like, this is someone driving head first into oncoming traffic. It's like, no, I know what I'm doing here. It's all fine.
The way you say it makes me feel like this movie relies too much on the success of the Brendan Fraser Mummy movie.
It's so, like, it does not try to be its own thing at all. Like, it really feels like, do you want this to be horror? Do you want this to be action? Do you want it to just be the Brendan Fraser Mummy? Like, again, I feel like one of the reasons why they decided to start with the Mummy this time rather than with Dracula. Like, Dracula, okay, he's the biggest monster out there. Okay, I understand. He's not my favorite, but he is the biggest one out there. It makes sense that you try to start with him. Well, then when that failed, it does feel like they went and went, people love that Brendan Fraser Mummy. They love it. It's like, not as much as you remember. People liked it. People have fond memories of it, but it's not one of those things that just blew up the world. It's not one of those things that, like, everybody, like, still goes around talking about to this day. I haven't heard anybody talk about that film in years, if it weren't for the fact that this thing was coming up. So, yeah, it feels, again, like they're like, okay, we're going to use that nostalgia to get people to come to this one. It's like, I don't think you are, man.
It's like, you can't really have nostalgia if the original cast isn't even in it.
Yeah, if it has no connection. But then again, it looks so much like they're trying to rip that off. Hold on, we're recording this on Saturday. I want to see, how did this... Oh, snap! The star of their cinematic universe is going to lose this weekend to Wonder Woman in its second week. Also, that's the other thing. Who's the fucking idiot there who was like, oh, Wonder Woman? Something that people have been talking about for a long time and it's been coming around. It's like everybody's like really hyped for. Weekend right after that one. Everybody's going to go see that. They're going to be like, done with that thing. Time to move on to this. No. Which, in all fairness, I'll give them this. The other DC films have sucked so bad that they probably did think, well, what are the odds they're going to make the fourth time the right time for them? I'm sure people are going to go see that. It's going to be that big 70% drop-off from Batman vs. Superman as they all come plugging into the Mummy. Dude, why would you even risk that? Why would you even tempt that possibly being a thing that happens? It was screwed up on every goddamn level. And as I said, they do not even know what they want this to be because, yeah, it's a big action film. It's a big Indiana Jones style action film, but then it tries to be a horror film at moments, but then there's so many, like, jokey moments in here, and I'm like, I don't even know what you want to be, and you could do these things. You could do all these things together. Like, I was complaining on Twitter when I saw the trailer for this thing. I was like, okay, you can't be action-adventure, you can't be Indiana Jones, and you can't be horror all at once. I said you can't be Indiana Jones action, you can't be big summer blockbuster, and you can't be horror all at once. And someone replied back, what about Aliens? Aliens was big summer blockbuster action and horror all at once. I went, oh shit, you know what? You know what? A really talented director and really talented writer actually could make something like that happen. This doesn't have any of those. This is a whole lot of square pegs and nothing but round holes. Nobody had the correct thing to go into what they were trying to shove it into. Oh my god. And it's, like I said, it's just baffling. The arrogance of them after they failed so bad with that Dracula film, coming in here and going, we're gonna make this entire thing work now. We're gonna make it all work. We got everything planned out. And it's like, you fucked up on every level of this. You sucked so bad. And what bugs me the most is that you guys know me. not only do I like the idea of a cinematic universe with these films, I'm actually digging that that's a trend right now. I love horror. I love monster movies. Do you know how bad I want to see the Universal Studio Monster Movie Cinematic Universe return? This isn't even like a trend with them. This is what it started as. This was the original cinematic universe. All the classic Universal monsters, Frankenstein, Mummy, Wolfman, Dracula, Abbott and Costello, they all existed in the same shared universe. I love that. I want to see that return. You guys just suck at it, and I'm sorry, I can't come up with better words. I've been screaming about this for over an hour at this point. It's so bad, and you could have done cool stuff. You could have gotten, like, look at the Warner Brothers Big Giant Monster movies. They get some of the weirdest indie directors to come in there for this stuff, and I'm just like, dude, even if this might be a bad film, it's going to be an interesting film. Someone's going to have a cool idea for this movie. I can't wait to see what they do with this. And yeah, listen, the indie director side of the Godzilla film kind of was my problems with it. I mean, the indie director is the guy who's like, no, let's not show them the giant monsters. Like, fuck you, show them the giant monster. But then at the end, when he came in there, like, a lot of the cool action stuff in there is like, that is an indie guy. That is a guy who's been dreaming about Godzilla since he was born. Yeah, so that paid off. And with Kong, shit, man, you used Kong to be a metaphor for Vietnam. I didn't see that coming, and it worked beautifully. And, you know, like Kong versus Godzilla, I can't remember the director, but it's another cool indie guy. And I'm like, goddamn, man, yeah, you gotta do some really cool stuff with this. Even if it's a bad film, it's gonna be some cool, interesting things there. You gotta be unique. This feels so generic. Like, this feels like if you want to create the Universal Studios shared monster universe, you need to look at, like, the guy who directed It Follows. You need to look at the guy who just directed It Comes at Night. You need to look at all those really unique indie horror films out there and go, let's get these guys in a room and see what they come up with. Like, they could come up with something that we hate and we'll just throw it in the trash, but at least we might come up with something really damn unique and cool. Because you know that they would come up with something, like I said, unique. Like, if you got the It Follows guy to do a mummy film, it wouldn't be some big, dumb summer blockbuster film where they have the giant sand face destroying all of London at some point. It'd just be a creepy-ass mummy film. It would be something new with the mummy. It would be something unique. And you could have him work with the other guys and have them figure out ways to connect it without, like, just shoving everything in there. But no, this is a film made by a studio, and you can feel there was no passion for this. You can feel these are people who don't even know what they have. These are people who don't even know the characters themselves. They're just people who want to make a buck. That's all this is. This was all a business decision. It was not a passion. It was not an arts decision. It was a business decision. And listen, I get how the burger is made. I get you need the business guy to come in every now and again and go, okay, you need to do this. Hell, when I reviewed It Comes at Night yesterday, I even came in there and said, yeah, man, maybe you needed a business guy to come in here at one point and go, yeah, man, you gotta do something at this moment right here. Like, occasionally the business guy helps out. A room full of business guys, though, is what made this movie. And they fucked it all up. So yeah, I think we might have our first contender for my 10 worst films of the year list. We've seen a lot of bad movies this year, but I kept going, yeah, they're not as bad, and I'm not as angry as I am typically at one of my 10 worst films of the year list. I'm kind of pissed off at this one. So let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this film, and as I said, I will be having the mini review going up soon, but let me know, the dog is stretching. Oh, he's waking up. Here, Cosmo.
Oh.
Come to life, raise my minion, raise. But let us know in the comments down below what you thought about this film. And we're throwing. Also, let us know your favorite Universal Studios monster. Mine's the Cuddle Monster, who's right here next to me. See, he calms me down. Thanks for tuning in. You can also follow me on Twitter and Tumblr at Professor Thorgy. Bye, everyone.
Bye.